Demont, can he kick a goal outside of the boot? The teenager, right now the hero.
These three possessions have all been really good touches, really creative. He's really imposed himself on the game in this last one.
We are the
beautifully done to Higgins. He's had a superb afternoon, and Nahas, electrifying, explosive, you name it, he's done it. Game over.
It was a big victory to the Kangaroos. Their coach Brad Scott joins us. Welcome to you, Brad.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks, boys.
You did it on the back of a couple of, I guess, replacements. Robbie Nahas has come in because you've moved Brent Harvey to the defence, and a youngster in for his first game.
Yeah, it was really pleasing for Trent Dumont, first of all, to come in and play his role as a sub, and I don't think too many players enjoy playing as a sub, particularly probably the guy for the opposition, but yeah, he came on and had a real impact for us, and really we needed to inject him into the game because Johnson was having an impact when he came on.
Can I ask you about Robbie Nahas? Because it looked as if at the end of last year his spot was just about gone. I'm not sure whether it was a considered pre-season plan, but Dalsano goes out, which means you've moved Brent Harvey to the half-back line. I don't think anybody in football would have thought Brent Harvey would finish his career playing off the half-back line.
Yeah, I've toyed with it a little bit in the past, and our defensive coach, Josh Drummond, really likes him back there. Yeah. And look, he defends really well. I mean, that's what probably surprises a lot of people.
Has had a goal kicked on him yet?
No, defends really well, and that's the starting point for any small defender, but gives us great bounce out of defence as well. So, you know, Nahas has come in and been really effective for us, and you know, I think he's been a really good acquisition since he came in 2 years ago.
I think you probably have all the line coaches saying, I'll have Brent Harvey in my area because I think I can use him. Just talking defensively, though, that's probably let you down the first 3 weeks of the season, but on the weekend, defensively, as and we'll show some numbers in a moment, they were very, very good in terms of the amount of points you concede on the scoreboard, but the percentage of goals once the ball went inside 50. What did you change, or what was tweaked to make that rapid improvement?
I think there are a couple of things, Jason. The defensive system and the defensive structure needed a little bit of adjustment. We were really disappointed against Port Adelaide to concede some really soft goals. I mean, we conceded 4 goals from free kicks. We conceded 2 really soft goal line goals, and in an 8-point game, that just kills you. So we were a lot tighter in our defence, and the individuals performed better as well. But you know, it always starts around the midfield. That supports your defence best, I think. And we knew we were going to have some challenges coming into the start of 2015. No Grimer, no Hansen, a few guys underdone back there, trialling Tarrant as a defender in the pre-season. You know, we knew we were at risk a little bit early on, but on the weekend it really improved.
And Robbie Tarrant, you just mentioned him, he's done a terrific job on Tom Hawkins. What's he got about him? He's good strength, athleticism. How can he cope with those big boppers week in, week out?
Well, he's perfectly suited, Brownie, from an athletic standpoint. He's 196 centimetres, 100 kilos, just a fantastic athlete. Not dissimilar to his brother Chris in terms of his aerobic capability, but he's also very powerful and very quick. So he's a great athletic package and a pretty good natural footballer, albeit as a forward. So, you know, with the emergence of Ben Brown and you know, the acquisition of Waite and Petrie and Black and these guys, the opportunity for Robbie was to establish himself as a defender, and he took the first step on the weekend. Probably the week before against Port, actually, he took the first step.
I love the look of Ben Brown. He looks an exciting player. But some of the names you mentioned there, you're almost getting to the stage where you're going to have to start choosing between some of the tools, because you've got quite a few of them now, and when a couple more come back, a couple of your key defenders come back, you're probably going to have too many big blokes, and you don't want to sacrifice the running the game, do you?
No, that's always a good problem to have, though. I mean, you know, we've probably in the past had the issue of having to play Scott Thompson, you know, well above his height. So having an embarrassment of riches, if you like, in terms of key position players at both ends, not a bad thing for the match committee. It's frustrating for the players that miss out, I'm sure.
You've mentioned the tools. Drew Petrie hasn't set the world on fire. You've been a massive supporter of his, particularly his work off the ball, which I think most of us wouldn't see anywhere near as much as a coach. But is he feeling heat as well, given his output isn't the same?
No. An incredibly important player to us. Our vice-captain for a reason. I thought he was fantastic on the weekend, albeit Rivers, you know, played him well one-on-one, but Drew's work rate, he played in all zones of the ground. He played really high game time. He went into the ruck. His defensive work for 198 centimetre key forward is second to none. He's just a critical component of what we're trying to do at North.
Now, Brownie, I know you got spoken to by Lee Matthews about the way you approached the contest, because it got to the stage where it was almost maniacal the way you were exposing yourself. Is it time for Scotty to have that chat with Jack Zeeble, do you think?
Well, mate, I did have the chat about me recklessness as a younger player. I forgot about it when I was older, of course. But have you had a chat to Jack, just his approach to the contest? Because we love his hardness, but at the end of the day, he can't be sitting in the grandstand. He's not going to help the side.
No, well, the difference between Jack and Brownie is that Brownie hurt everyone else.
Jack hurts himself.
Jack's hurting himself at the moment.
Eventually, I hurt myself.
It took a while, though. I mean, I was more concerned about Daniel Bradshaw than I was about you.
That's right.
Look, I've likened his attack on the ball to Glenn Archer, and praise doesn't come any higher than that. The difference probably at the moment with Glenn is he had great courage, but he had an unbelievable technique to go with the courage. Jack at the moment has just eye on the ball, attack on the man with the ball, and probably not the technique that we'd like. That's a good example of putting yourself in harm's way. So we'll continue to work on the technique, but we won't discourage the intent.
There was an unsavoury incident over in Adelaide on the weekend, and one of your colleagues, or your contemporaries, if you like, Alistair Clarkson, he got himself involved in a really nasty incident. I thought yesterday his response just lacked an apology and lacked a little bit of clarity, and he came forward with that today, and I thought it was a really important message that he did send out to the media, accepting that he's a very influential member of the community, and that he should have almost found a way to walk away. And I thought it was absolutely the perfect message this afternoon.
Well, first of all, far be it from me to comment on Clarko. I mean, just a terrific role model in the game, and he accepts that label as a role model, but just an icon in the coaching game. So I'm not going to comment as to Alice's actions, what he should or shouldn't have done, but I think we're in this day and age now where we have a lot of people who, particularly when there's alcohol involved, want their moment in the sun. And I'm a little bit concerned, even in the community, that we're breeding cowards these days, to be honest. People who feel they can have their say on social media, they feel like they can call talkback radio, they feel like when they've had a few beers they can confront people of note who are public figures. And very, very rarely would people do that if they didn't know that the person they were doing it to couldn't respond. So I'm concerned a little bit that people in the general public, albeit the really small minority, feel that it's their right to do that.
Or in front of their mates. I'm not sure whether that bloke would have done it if Alistair Clarkson, if he was there on his own with Alistair Clarkson. Don't you think that the bloke invaded the personal space too much? Like, his head was virtually up against Alistair's. Like, you can't reasonably expect to pput up with that. I think that's a pretty, challenging position for Alistair Clarkson.
Oh, no doubt, but I think that the thing is, Brownie, you've been in that situation many times as a player, and most players have. You've just got to, accept that you've got a role to play in society as a player and as a coach, and the people who are doing it are to be honest, beneath you. Do
you learn something from it? I'm sure Hawthorn has, about security and about liberties that you should be able to take, but essentially you can't take, like walk to the ground.
Yeah, look, I'd hate it to get to the stage where you had security following you everywhere. I think the AFL do it fantastically at the grounds, and the venues are spot on. I went into Friday night footy to watch the Richmond-Melbourne game, and I caught the train in, and the supporters are fantastic, really. And this is the thing, this is the really disappointing thing. You're talking about probably a 0.01% minority of these people, because most of the fans just love footy, they love the people involved in the game, and the banter's usually friendly.
You won the Battle of the Roof. We're very pleased for you. It's taken a hell of a long time. We had a campaign here on the couch, couldn't make them shift. But it was you or the coaches collectively that have finally got them to move.
I think it's just common sense. I mean, I think that really, I mean, the coaches are the people who are least involved. I mean, mostly it's the players who really didn't like it. Certainly our players didn't like it at Open when it was sunny. The broadcasters didn't like the contrast between light and shade. So, when we've got a roof, let's use it. Coaches
in recent weeks have been pretty outspoken about the substitute. It looks like it's going to die a pretty quick death, I would have thought. Are you in the majority there thinking we don't need that?
Yeah, look, we're already planning for it to be gone. We haven't had any indication from the AFL that that'll be the case, but I think the groundswell is growing, and interchange is not the issue we probably thought it was.
Yeah.
And, I'm happy for interchange to come down if that's what the powers that be want to do. But
have you got a perfect number for rotations?
I don't think there is a perfect number. I think that you can pluck arbitrary figures and you can do all these studies, and but for every argument there's a counter argument. But if it was 60, if it was 80, I don't mind. The only thing with abolishing the sub rule is that if you do get a couple of injuries early, you can't have the opposition increase rotations against you. And if you reduce interchanges, that'll solve it.
I think from memory, the original position of the coaches was for 22 plus a sub. And then, so originally I think Dean Laidley had done some sums that the numbers of wins and losses was really skewed if in fact you lost a player early. So that's what the competition, the coaches, etc., will be given up if you go away from a sub, that fairness element if you lose one early.
If you reduce the interchange though, that mitigates that significantly. Those numbers were done when interchange was up around 150, 160. And I can tell you, as a coach, when the opposition lost a player, you immediately increased your rotation to exploit the fact that they were 1 or 2 down. So if you reduce interchange, then I don't think it's going to affect the fairness situation unless there's 3 or 4
So what
injuries.
number would you like to eradicate the fairness and get back the 22nd man?
Again, I'm not strong on it. I'll let the powers that be make the call, but if it was between 60 and 80, it wouldn't worry me.
Do you think if it was, say, down to 60, it would dramatically change the athlete that's needed to play a game?
I think that's a concern, Brownie, but I'll make the point that for every argument there's a counter-argument, and when you reduce interchange, the thing that you've got to be aware of is that the players who are on the bench are going to be on the bench longer, and so when they come on, they're going to be fresher against other players who are significantly fatigued. So, I've always been pretty strong on just taking a pretty slow approach to these things, because when you make significant changes, you end up changing rules to change the rules because of a rule change.
Yeah.
Players are huge on free agency. How are you seeing it working from a coach and club perspective?
I can understand why the players are pushing for it, but I'm a little bit concerned if you reduce the qualification period for free agency. You disincentivise clubs to develop their own talent. And at the moment, AFL clubs do an outstanding job of developing not only young footballers but young men. And if you reduce the qualification period to, say, 4, 5, 6 years, then you wonder why you draft a player and you invest an enormous amount of time and effort into developing him and then potentially lose them. Clubs will be more inclined, I think, to just say, well, let's scrap the development side of things and just look to the free agency market to top up our list.
So with the list build, free agency in mind, who is it the coach's, I suppose, vision, and then the list managers and the list committee falls in line behind that, or you're just provided with the list and you have to work with it, Scotty, or is it all a collaborative approach?
Brandy, I suspect it's different at every club. In fact, I know it is. Our club's very collaborative in our approach. We have certain protocols in place to make sure, for example, that if I was a coach under pressure, I didn't go and trade all our draft picks away just for the present. But we work in a list management committee of 4, and we all have a say. And to this point, 6 years in, we've all been on the same page.
Your retention rate's been outstanding now. 8 drafts, 22 have retained. You've retained 22 out of 24.
Yeah, we've worked really hard on that and building that platform, particularly at times when, as a club, we've been under pressure. I mean, 2010, we started at times with a midfielder, Bastanak, Zeeble and Cunnington, 3 18, 19-year-olds, with a ruckman, Todd Goldstein at 21. So that was a challenging time for us, but we knew the path we were on and what we needed to invest in. Lately, we've been able to add a couple of free agents, and potentially this year, we look at some trading opportunities because of the platform that we've been able to build over the last 7 or 8 years.
Just one quick one before we let you go. Dustin Fletcher's closing in on 400. Brent Harvey's not far behind him. Is the game going to allow more players to play deeper into their 30s, or are they just freaks?
I think certainly in Boomer's case, I only observe Fletcher from afar with admiration, but Boomer doesn't miss a session. I mean, he's really frustrating Del Sando, Waite, Petrie, because Boomer never misses a session, so therefore they don't miss either. So he's ruining it for those older blokes. But No, he's a remarkable athlete and a remarkable preparer.
And a final word on Lee Patch Adams, who's I know a favourite down at the club, but has had some serious head knocks. Where's he at with his return, if he's going to return?
Well, look, he's progressing really well. We've taken, obviously, a very cautious approach with him, and he'll go through a battery of tests over the next couple of weeks. But look, I'm cautiously optimistic. We're certainly not going down the path of talking about retirement. I mean, that's what people want to talk about. But I'm cautiously optimistic that he'll come back. And you're right, Jared, he's a favourite of ours and he's a favourite of mine.
Hawks on the weekend. Taggers are dead, I know, except Sam Mitchell got tagged on the weekend with great success. So did Paddy Dangerfield the weekend before. Where do you sit on it?
On Mitchell or on taggers in
Mitchell.
general? Oh, I think Mitchell's a star, and if he dominates the game, it's going to be hard for the opposition to win.
Are you a tag fan?
Yeah, I do, but I think it can be a bit of a disaster if it doesn't work. You know, if you set out to tag someone and it doesn't work, you're essentially a player down. So you've got to have the player who can do the job. Well,
we look forward to that encounter. It's been a great start to the year. Everybody's up and about except for one or two. Kangaroos are certainly in the mix, and it's a big game against the Hawks. Good luck and thanks for coming in, Brad.
I appreciate it. Thanks.